Every morning when I wake up, I don't feel fully conscious. It takes me a while to understand what I am. It feels like when you wake up, you're not completely there and you're not here. You have such an awareness of something, but not awareness of yourself. And you try to move by inertia. And you try to understand who you are and what day it is and why are you here for in the first place. And it's hard, and sometimes you just want to lay down and never get up again. You just want to give up, but you have to get up. And what I usually do, I take a cold shower. It helps me to wake up completely. It's strange because it seems like sleep must help you to rest. What it does to me sometimes, it erases something within me, and it takes me some time to come back to my complete awareness of myself, to become conscious again, to become conscious of myself, and then through this conscious of myself, I become conscious of the entire world. And you have to do this, you have to learn to see the world through your own consciousness, because otherwise you cannot perceive the world. The world doesn't have colors. The world doesn't have awareness. You are the one who is aware of the world. And to be able to be aware of the world, you have to be aware of yourself. I was thinking about self-help videos people producing. I don't know why they do this. I know there are some people like David Goggins who try to show their own examples. And what I'm doing, for example, I try to understand myself in my videos. I don't do these videos for somebody. I do them for myself. And I try to understand myself through those videos. And posting them online, in some sense, try to track the continuity of my own evolvement, of my own development. Because we have to learn to understand ourselves, and we have to learn how to speak about this understanding, how to express this understanding. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you kind of concerned how people would perceive you, but you have to learn how to not to care about other people's opinion, because you don't understand why other people judge you. And also, most of other people really don't care about you. And my entire point, you just have to learn about yourself. That's why I'm doing these videos and this podcast. I try to understand more and more about myself. We change all the time. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was terrified of this thought that what if I never become famous writer? What if I always will be poor? What if I die alone in a hospital, having no friends, having no wife, having no kids? And this thought used to terrify me a lot. I thought it was horrible because I read about other authors who died poor, who died lonely, who died unaccepted by the world around them. And I thought, wow, what a horrible way to die, what a horrible way to live. What's the point in their writing? What's the point of their works? But then now, 20 years later, I start understanding the world differently. And I suddenly realized that I don't afraid to die alone in a hospital bed with no one visiting me. It's not too bad. You need to make certain sacrifices, and you need to follow your God sometimes, even for the high price. The world itself is not a bad place, and your attitude, in some sense, create the goodness and the badness of the world. You're the one who create this goodness within yourself towards certain things in this world. The same, you are the one who create badness. There's no good and bad, but thinking makes it so, as Shakespeare said. And I was thinking about it carefully. And today I read in this book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, where he said that suffering like gas, it fills every corner in the room. And the same suffering fills every particle of your soul or all your mind. And what it tells me that the point is you have to be able to expand your soul, to make it deeper. This way suffering actually pushes you to become deeper. Suffering pushes you to become bigger. Suffering makes you a different person. If you force the suffering, if you create out of the suffering a force that makes you bigger in the first place. Suffering itself, like we all have fears when we were younger. And some of us still have fears because we still see and still afraid of those fears. And the problem with the fears, they don't let you grow. They force you to stay on the same level. This way they can't control you till the end of your life. But once you refuse to stay in the same place, once you want to change, once you want to grow, you outgrow your fears and you look at them quite differently. You actually become braver as the result of this deepness within yourself. And that's why you see suffering in a different way. I think resentfulness, in some sense, it's a maturity of your soul. It's a maturity of your being. Resentfulness, in some sense, childish, because you blame everyone for your own follies. You blame everyone for your own mistakes. You don't want to take responsibility. You want the world solve all your personal problems, or the world should accommodate all your desires, all your wishes. And you have this desire to be famous, to be rich, to be incredibly lovable and great, and you demand this. But the world doesn't care, and then you become resentful. I think to become mature, to become adult, is to make a peace with yourself. And you make a peace by discovering new layers of your spiritual being. You become more spiritual with the years go by. And this act of becoming more spiritual helps you to afraid less, helps you to understand the meaning of proper sacrifice. And that's how we come to bad politics. In some sense, bad politicians, they try to appease to the wars in us, to our resentfulness, to our envy. They try to convince us that it's not your fault that you're poor, that it's not your fault that you're miserable, that you're depressed. It's other people's faults, it's successful people's faults. And as the result, this bad politician assume the voice of your own resentfulness. And you let them to destroy the competent, the successful ones. And in the end, the entire environment around you collapses. And you even now worse off than you were before. Yes, immaturity. That's what's wrong with us now. That's what's wrong with the West. We're getting more and more immature. We refuse to grow up. We refuse to take responsibility. We want to blame everyone. And why? Because we believe that suffering is bad and we have to avoid suffering by any means necessary. And I'm not saying you have to look for suffering. I'm not saying because it's some sort of masochism. You don't look for suffering, but if you suffer, you try to understand your suffering, why you suffer. You don't try to resist. You try to embrace your suffering and try to find some meaning. You try to make yourself deeper as the result of your suffering. You try to discover faith within yourself. You try to find something because you know, once you know why, the why, you will handle almost any how. That's the point. That's what people terrified of suffering. People are terrified of unhappiness. A lot of people truly believe that life is about happiness. It's about comfort. But don't you see contradiction? The more we're comfortable, the less we're happy. And money is not going to solve your problems. Money actually doesn't solve anything. People assume voluntarily this materialistic slavery. They want things, they want possessions. And they enslave themselves just to buy extra car, just to have a little bit more money on their bank account. They put themselves in this position, then they blame everyone because of their own mistakes. Freedom is dangerous because when you're free, you take responsibility for your existence. You take responsibility for your being. And all these consequences that might happen to you, it's on you. It's not on anybody else. It's on you only. When you decided to be free, when you decided to do what you feel is right, what you think is right, then you only can blame yourself. And another thing, it doesn't mean you will be successful. It doesn't mean you will be super great. That's what I stopped being afraid to die alone in a hospital, having no family, having no money, having no fame, having nothing. But one thing I want to have myself. I want to have this self. And for this, I have to take responsibility for my own life. There's nothing worse than don't have self. Without self, you're useless. Without self, you become imitations of other people. You imitate their life, you imitate their emotions, you imitate their idea of existence, and eventually you imitate even their selves. And you lose everything. There's nothing within and without you. Everything around you and inside of you is just imitation of other people. And they imitate you, and it's like endless loop of complete imitations. But what you have to do, you have to develop yourself. Yourself is the most important thing. Why? Because when something bad happens, when tyranny start merging and people become silent, the one who has self will tell the truth. And once he or she tells the truth, everything would change. Tyranny, it's lie. It's just a lie. It's just a lie where a bunch of cowards conspire. It's like a coward's conspiracy. That's what tyranny is. And they keep lying to each other. They keep silent. But because they don't have selves, there's not a single self in the bunch of cowards. But once you have self, then, only then you can sacrifice the self for truth. And if you don't have self, you don't sacrifice anything. You just live for lies. That's how simple it is. And we need more spiritual existence within us. We need to believe in something that's impossible to believe. And we have to accept something that's hard to accept. And freedom lies in responsibilities and in nothing else. The more freedom you have, the more responsibility you must assume. Responsibility for everything, but especially for yourself, for your own decisions. But at the same time, you have to take responsibility for other people, take responsibility for the life itself. It's, as Viktor Frankl said, it doesn't matter what you want from life. It matters what life wants from you. And to be able to understand that, you have to listen to yourself. But for this, you have to have self. And once you have self, once you learn how to listen to this self, only then your fears will be gone. Because you can say no and feel the truth. And as the saying goes, truth will set you free.